both have a news background. And I think that at the heart of that is just this desire, which mixes with art, desire to just know and be a part of all these different things, and just wanting to know about that and wanting to know about this. And I think art, you're very inquisitive if you're into art and video and all that. So I think at the heart of it is we just want to learn more and know more and tell more stories and figure out what that person's about and what this person's about, and what that organization is. And so it kind of all just comes together and fits because we're always wanting to know more, and that fits with art and that fits with video. I think it's just a way of communicating and being part of the community and other people and their lives.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to No Surprises, an inside look at the ambitious, joyful, and occasionally terrifying journey of creators. We're back at season 2. Kels, how are you? You're doing good?
I'm great. I'm in a new location. I'm in Evanston today, in a fun room with very cozy and carpeting on the floor, which is great for sound.
Oh, good for noise. Yeah.
Yeah, very
Meanwhile,
good for noise.
I'm still in Mexico City, where there's no such thing as noise boundaries or barricades. It's just loud all the time.
Who needs it?
So hopefully we'll get a little bit of music from the street and the cafes below while we're on today.
Has the guy who plays the same song over and over all day, all night, come back?
Ooh, yes. This year though, he's learned something new. It's Miley Cyrus's Flowers. So that's what he's playing on the pan flute.
Amazing.
Took me a second to get it, but yeah, always whatever the greatest hit is, he's got it down and he plays it all around.
I love it. So we are joined by the lovely Monica and Adia. They run Seaberry Design, a colorful, cultured creative agency. Their award-winning design team brings decades of experience to the table. They know how to collaborate with clients across the globe, including some of DC's most prominent and most influential institutions, even producing work in 9 different languages, which is very impressive to me as someone who has a bakery level of French and English, and that's about it.
It's fine. I have the same in Spanish.
Yeah.
And Italian, it just comes out from me because it's in my blood.
Yeah, exactly. So Monica and Adia, we're so happy to have you today. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thanks for
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yeah. So you two have like the most incredible experiences from art, journalism, now your creative practice at Seaberry. It's hard to figure out where to start. But I'm going to start with this question that I feel like is a bit broad, and we'll let us talk about that different experience. Tell us, how do you define the community that Seaberry serves? Tell us a little bit about the people you work with, the types of projects that you like to do, and how has that evolved over the years?
Well, we got involved early on with working for DC government agencies, and a lot of them are doing good.
Yeah.
So we ended up when we would work for nonprofits too, and we would end up working for nonprofits that are doing good. And so that kind of send us in a direction where we work with a lot of agencies that do good. So we work for the Department on Disabilities, and we've learned so much. We've worked we have a contract. We're on a contract with DC Lottery now, but a lot of the agencies, the Department of For Hire Vehicles, and that includes Uber and Lyft. Just so many different departments are involved in DC government that we didn't even know existed. So
wow,
it's been a lot of fun.
And each client and all the different organizations, they have such different, we get to work in a lot of different areas, like she was saying, transportation, and we work with the Washington Ballet and lottery, and just getting to learn about all these different areas of society and ways in which people are interacting with agencies and with each other and doing work for that. It just stays super interesting, and we're always doing something new and learning something new and using new skills, which is
so that kind of had a spider effect. Like we were working for the Department of For-Hire Vehicles, and now we're doing work for women in transportation. So it just moves out to other organizations from these DC government agencies.
I'm always so fascinated by that, like, linked chain of you start in this one place, you do this project, and then, it's very like butterfly flaps its wings, and here you are 5 years down the road doing something you never imagined you would be put in context to, but here it is.
Exactly.
And I feel like you both have such interesting and layered careers. Monica, you have this really vibrant painting practice. Adia, you have a journalism and storytelling background. Can you tell us a little bit about like how those two different ways of practice and kind of, moving through the world converge in Seaberry?
Yeah, they all came together. I never thought about it like that, but
they're very complimentary.
Everybody around us is complimentary, though. I feel like we just like pull in puzzle pieces in our lives. Yeah. Like Monica does graphic design and started out as a painter in fine arts, and I'm into video and then photography, and my husband's a user-centered designer, and we're just always kind of like pulling in these parts that make one big whole.
Yeah.
But we both have a news background. And I think that at the heart of that is just this desire, which mixes with art, desire to just know and be a part of all these different things, and just wanting to know about that and wanting to know about this. And I think art, you're very inquisitive if you're into art and video and all that. So I think at the heart of it is we just want to learn more, and know more and tell more stories and figure out what that person's about and what this person's about, what that organization is. And so it kind of all just comes together and fits because we're always wanting to know more, and that fits with art and that fits with video. I think it's just a way of communicating and being part of the community and other people and their lives. And connecting.
I love that.
Yeah. So I feel like at the heart of everything that we do, even with graphic design and our backgrounds, has just been this constant exploration of the world around us and human interaction.
I love that. So when it comes to your creative process, you're both pulling from so many different sources of information, right? Background knowledge and the things that you're curious about. How would you describe your creative process when you're working with clients? Do you feel like you try to keep the creative brief pretty tight, or do you prefer to have more space for that kind of like more nebulous exploration?
We leave it pretty open for nebulous exploration, I think, right? All right.
Yeah, really. I feel like we're always like, we always want to do creative briefs really intensely, and never, because we're just like, tell us more.
We hardly even do them.
We have one.
We just start talking and talking.
We have kickoff meetings and we get into these conversations.
We have a really good time, and it just never ends up being a creative brief. Like it's a verbal and visual creative brief. So
I love that.
Yeah.
We're very open in our conversations, and we just love, I feel like you learn so much too through those conversations. Someone wouldn't write in a creative brief, and getting to chat with our clients, we'll go down weird avenues that all of a sudden give us some great idea for where we should be headed with the project. Maybe there's a scope change, and we love that back and forth that creates awesomeness.
Right. Your work is like a fair bit. It's like you're on a fact-finding mission, and you're trying to learn as much about the client and what they do as possible so that you can like synthesize it in a way that really makes sense for them and what they're trying to accomplish. And you don't like get there right away, right? You're not like meeting one, discovery, let's talk about all of these things. Like you can do your research, but so much of it comes from that like interpersonal connection that you build with someone. And then the ideas start coming. And so really like the creative brief in a lot of ways almost doesn't make sense, because like Monica, you're saying you leave a lot of room for like the nebulous. That's kind of how the ideas start coming. And before we started recording this, we were talking about, and I find this very interesting, that moment of intimation when when the inspiration is just about to hit and it's hitting, and what you do to kind of get there, and working that into your process where you learn about the clients, you do this research on the back end, and then you just kind of let it sit. And you let the ideas kind of grow from there, is just like a really natural way of creating things that I think is better than being like, we're going to do it this way. Like, I know we all want to meet deadlines, but like creativity doesn't work on a schedule,
Right. And plus, because we get so many of our ideas from our experience.
Yeah.
And especially coming from newspapers, you had to report, or for me, I did graphics on so many stories, on so many different topics. Yeah. And so that's sort of the way that we work now. Like, we can grab some experience from before and say, oh, well, no, this would work well for them because I've done a graphic about this particular subject. So we can grab back from our past.
So I feel like there's a perception of governmental organizations and the people who work in them as being like fairly rigid, maybe a little bit like not as open to like inspiration. Have you found that to be the case, or have you seen that evolve and change? We've been talking a lot with other guests about like how creativity has become more accessible to people who would have never considered themselves creative before. Do you see that with your clients, or are you kind of the people bringing them into that space of maybe being a little bit open to different forms of inspiration?
I see them as being hungry, not just hungry, starving, because they don't want to be seen as a stuffy governmental organization because they're out competing with everybody else.
Yeah.
So they want to look great. They want to look like they're fun. They want to try to add fun to what they're doing and so that we kind of bring that to them. We bring,
I love that.
Like,
color. That's really cool.
And I also think our backgrounds are, our team anyway, we also get kind of joy out of the restrictions that come with it. It's like, we want to be as cool and funky and awesome as possible. And we've got these boundaries that we have to work in, and we have to figure out the puzzle. And we like, some people are like, well, I don't want any boundaries. I just want to be like, but I like figuring out how to do the best thing with, it has to fit in this box, or we have to make sure that this information is clear. And that information is like how to file your taxes. But how can I make that extremely cool and funky and interesting to other people? I like that challenge.
Adia, you've touched on something that I like really love, which is giving lanes to things whenever we're approaching a creative problem. I work a lot with like the marketing team. And so we're always like, how do we want to like disperse this information? What are we good at? And so I always like give the team, I'm like, here are the lanes we're going to stay in. Here's the structure. Here's where we're going to play. And I'm giving you boundaries so that you can play within those boundaries and like really expand your mind, because having that helps you focus it down. And then you can be like, okay, but like taxes, but make it fun. And this is what we're trying to, this is the problem we're trying to solve. It's a lot like putting up an equation versus just being like, have fun, go play, which I think is what a lot of people think it is, but it's not. It's like, no, sometimes we need to give ourselves some boundaries so that we can be more cohesive and playful or whatever.
I also think it tests my creativity too, to have these rules and boundaries and not just be like, I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want, all the time. I feel like I have to get super creative.
Yeah.
When someone saying, I need this awesomeness, but you have to follow these certain rules. It's like, how my brain really has to work.
For those clients too, like it gives them it's a huge opportunity. Like, why do I follow the TSA on Instagram? Well, they're hilarious. Like,
so is National Park Service. Do you
the National Park Service tweets? Amazing.
So good.
There was one I saw recently that was like, just a reminder, 98% of squirrel injuries come from the bitey part. Don't put food in squirrels' mouths. I was just like, this is perfect. Like, this is a perfect Instagram post. And I promise those people like didn't, think that was accessible to them before, but now I think having a sense of humor and like an openness to that kind of creativity, it means that someone like me, who's, otherwise pretty good at going through airport security, is like, yeah, I got to follow this.
Yeah.
National Park Service is another good one.
They're so funny.
They'll say stuff about, if you encounter a bear on a trail, like don't push your partner down and all this stuff. And like, what? I'm always sharing National Park Service stuff with people. They're funny.
Garfield Park Conservatory, to bring it to Chicago for a second, had an absolutely incredible, and still does, I'm sure, I just haven't seen it recently, but their TikTok, whoever was running it was like coming up with jingles on the fly about like plants and like educational things, and I would just be sending it to everyone. I'm like, look at this is hysterical. And it was educational, but it was funny, and it was like very quippy, and I was like, this is brilliant. This is so great.
That did remind me one other thing that I feel like we're really lucky to be in DC when you mentioned Chicago. Because DC is such a rich city. It's a city of minorities. When I was growing up in the DC area, it was 60, almost 70% Black at the time. So there's just all this color and all this excitement that seeps into government agencies. I mean, you'll be on a call with government agency and they're like, well, how can we fit go-go into it? And go-go's a style of music that originated in DC. And like, everything needs to be colorful and bright and exciting and have rhythm to it and a beat. So I do feel like we get lucky being in DC, in a city that cares so much about funkiness.
I love that.
Has like a definite like personality and background, like something to bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about work that has been related to government messaging over the years, it hasn't always been boring. I mean, there's so many like gorgeous pieces of historical artifacts, like posters and, different types of work, that I feel like there's always been these moments of creativity that have seeped into the desire to communicate things with like the people of a nation. Mm-hmm. And it must feel very interesting and complicated to be two women, two minorities running an organization that is so directly involved with communicating with such a wide group of people. Do you feel like, does that feel like a weight for you? Does it feel like a heavy sense of responsibility? I guess I'm just kind of curious about your process in that.
Well, our team looks like United Nations. So we can grab from everybody on the team. That we're so different. We're so diverse. Our team is really diverse. And so that helps us a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it helps. I don't know. I feel comfortable. Uniquely, because I feel like because we're so diverse, we all spend a lot of time looking at other perspectives. I feel like when you're a woman and you're a minority, you spend a lot of time paying attention to how other people go through the world, and you understand when something was offensive or hurt someone else's feelings because it's happened to you. So you're very conscious of it. Yeah. And I feel like that makes us really uniquely qualified, having such a diverse team to go into projects with clients open-minded and able to say, well, would that leave this person out? Or how would I feel looking at it? How would you feel? What's your opinion? I feel like it helps.
I love that. And I think it's cool to think about that as you have such a like reservoir of empathy within your team, to be able to like understand and connect with not just the people you're working with on projects and campaigns, but the people that they serve. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like one thing to be able to find commonality with your direct client. It's another thing entirely to be able to think about, okay, when someone is interacting with this work. Even if I know nothing about them, they're going to see it in a subway, they're going to see it, in print or online. What will their experience be? I don't know. I feel like sometimes that stuff can get feel very big when you're in the creation process of how do we bring this together? But I think you're right. Having a team that has so many different perspectives helps make that very clear and very obvious from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. Living in an echo chamber isn't helping anyone. So it just makes work so much better.
Yeah. So Raina tells us that you all recently moved office spaces, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
What led to the move, and how are you making the space feel creative and fresh for you now?
Oh, I'm gonna let Adia talk about that because she's our resident.
You have to tell the story about why we moved.
Yeah, okay.
You started, I take it over.
Okay, COVID had a lot to do with us moving. We had a lease in our space. Our space was pretty small, but because of COVID, there are a lot of vacant office spaces because a lot of people said, we're not going back. We're just not going back. And so we had the office and the lease ran out, and I talked to the landlord and I said, well, I just want to know what that space next door is, how much you want for that space next door. At least twice the size. And it was $45 more a month. So it's like, that's a no-brainer. We're getting that space. So.
It's supposed to not have the better view, but it has the better view.
$45?
$45, yeah. But they're trying to, fill up spaces.
Right.
So.
That's so funny. I'm sure you were just like no extras. Yes, give me the contract.
I didn't ask anything. I was like, okay, you said $45.
You said,
you said.
You said it.
So not too far of a move, right?
No, we didn't even have to hire a mover.
Same floor.
We didn't have to hire a mover. We just took our stuff and moved it over there. Well, I didn't do it, but somebody did. Moved it up to the next office. But, we didn't have to hire a mover or anything. So
that's amazing.
That worked out real well.
Yeah, it's really nice space. It's super bright and a lot more rooms. We're really excited. I mean, we're still working remotely. So
right.
I know nobody really wants to go to an office. So we work remotely a lot, but we are doing something.
Yeah. Nice. And meetings. We have meetings there and everything. And we just had a team meeting there last week, which was awesome. And for some new hires, it was their first time seeing the space. And it's exciting moving into the space after COVID, where everybody got to kind of they have a new relationship with work.
Yeah.
And how work should feel and what a space should feel like. And prior to COVID-19, it was this place you sit in your seat and you work and people were fighting for a standing desk. It's like, can I please get a stand? What do you need a standing desk? In some organizations, places that I work.
It'll make me more productive.
Yeah, that was the pre-COVID thing. Was like, do you think so-and-so's going to get a standing desk at the Wall Street Journal, and now it's like, how can we make this space kind of feel like home and feel super comfortable? And you want a standing desk? Of course. So now we get to kind of reimagine what we want work to be. And Seaberry was always a very chill space anyway, but making space for just a brainstorming room or
there are no offices anymore. So we have more rooms, but we're not making any of them offices. We're just making it a space. You want to pick a room, you go in that room and work, or you want to hang out in this room, you just go in that room and work. I mean, one room looks like a conference room, but we're not like, this is so-and-so's office and only they can go in there. It's just all open to wherever you want to work, you can work.
We have a similar size team, I think. And
a similar moving story where literally it was
yes.
It was, y'all might appreciate, I'm trying to keep it brief. I get so chatty, but we were in an office. We're in like a shared office space, right? It's an industrious. And we really like those. We made the jump. We were actually completely remote the entire time because Kelsey and I used to run like a production agency too. So we would bring in a lot of extra contractors to help us execute. We just never really needed an office space until after COVID hit. And a lot of our team, most of our 90% of our team is women, if not more. I don't know. We have 2 men on our team of 20. And so, bless those men. They have to put up with a lot of slacks about us. But we were like, okay, we're going to get an office space. We're going to get a shared office space because a lot of our team the families are growing and it's really difficult for the moms to work at home when the kids are like, mom, even if they're in another room. Like Kelsey would say, I can hear my son crying and it's just distracting me. I can't do it. So we were like, okay, all right, we're going to get an office space. So we moved in, we had this tiny, like 4-desk office space. And then one night it was like 5:00 and someone from the rental team was there and we were like, so we noticed that it was actually a political canvassing team that had owned the office next to us. And we're like, they're not there too much anymore. Like, what's going on? They're like, oh, they're moving out. And we're like, how much more does that room cost? And it was like more than twice the size. And they were like, oh, it's like $500. It wasn't 45, but like, it's like $500 extra a month. And I was like, okay. And then we ended up going into this like really weird negotiation at like 6 p.m. that included like pets to my dog, and like a couple extra like meeting room things. And we moved like next door. We were like, why not? It'll be bigger space. It's brighter. It's got all these windows. And we're like, we're doing it. It's going to be good for the team. And that's now how we moved, was like very much like, oh, I was like, oh, Kels, that's easy. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Well, and
it's the same story.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah, look at all the light in that office. It's a corner, it looks out into an alleyway, but you get all this bright light.
For the record, you got the better financial deal for sure.
Yeah,
right. 500.
Maybe we can eventually get Industrious to sponsor this podcast and it'll all play out because their rental team is the best. Yeah, an office space at Industrious today. No, it's like a funny thing because we've always been remote. And then once we got the space, I'm sure you see this too. There's this kind of fun attraction that it ends up having where people don't have to be there. We never require anyone to be in office. And yet people will find their way there and they just are like, no, I just like co-working. Like, I just like being able to be in the room with people. And I love that. I think it's changed our business for the better. And so I wonder if you guys you will have been experiencing similar things where there's more of that serendipity and less the sense of like, can I get a standing desk, please?
I feel like everyone right now is like, cool, we'll come in when fun stuff's happening. And then we get started really early and it's like fast paced with all the creative stuff that's, due by the end of the day from everybody. So
yeah,
a lot of times, and when you're in that creative space, Monica actually had a video that she made for our Instagram where she was talking about a little bit about her creative process and that we were going over sparks or what gets your creativity going. And she was talking about how you get lost in your process and you're in this other world. And she's like, sometimes I just get hungry and I don't have any food because I'm just stuck in this other world, this creativity world. So we're kind of like that all day, that it's really hard to get in your car and get somewhere else. You're just like, oh, but I'm thinking about this and I'm making this. And
right.
This and this together. So
that's me at 9 p.m. every night. I'm like, oh man, but I can like do this. Like, oh, I just had this idea. Let me run with this. Like when it hits, you're just like, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop.
Ooh, this is a good, like, brief question. When during the day, I know you said you usually get started pretty early, but when during the day do you feel the most creative? Like, are you more of a morning thinker, afternoon, evening? Like, when's your pocket of like, okay, I can groove now. I'm in my creative zone.
I'm definitely evening to middle of the night because I get up at 4:00 in the morning sometimes because I'm just dreaming about this stuff that's going on in my head. Get up at 4:00 in the morning and I have to go write it down.
Wow.
Or I write it down or I draw it and then I can go back to sleep. Because if I don't, I can't sleep because I'm just going to keep thinking about it.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have that answer with exercise, like I'm much better exercising at night, but creativity, I know, is that weird? But creativity is kind of like, I just like go up and down, like I'm in a zone and then I get pulled out, and then I can kind of like go in at different points as long as I have some time. I can.
When you fall out of the zone, how do you get yourself back in it?
Ooh, great question.
Fall out. How do you...
Closing my eyes.
I wish I could fall out.
Yeah, I don't know.
You almost have to get pulled out.
Yeah, it bothers me so much.
It's hard to fall out. You're just like so stuck. You got to get pulled out. And then when you get pulled out, to get back in, you just go back to that computer and just start.
I like that.
I feel like it's always nagging you when you haven't gotten the answer yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a salad, but I'm like, oh.
Oh, this is what I do. I'll be like, I'm going to go cook something. So maybe it's not like on top of my mind, but I'll just be like cutting vegetables like, oh, there it is. And like you run back. This is what happens to me all the time. My coffee over brews on the stove. And I'll be like at my computer, like, I just had an idea. Shoot. Like, get it out.
Monica makes tea and she'll like forget about the tea and it'll just sit there. And she'll like be back at work and she'll like, oh,
tea's cold.
Tea.
It'll be cold. I'll drink it anyway.
I do the same thing.
I'll drink it anyway.
I got to the point with speaking about like being up in the middle of the night and stuff. I got to the point with script writing when I was working on a lot of documentaries where I could be writing the script in my sleep. And then the second I wake up, I had a notepad next to my bed and I would write it down. And I had like the intros to 2 documentaries, were at least 2, were completely written while sleeping.
I love that you're still, I always try to get back to a notepad, but I use my notes app on my phone.
Use it forever.
Like I was on a plane. I do some writing on the side. I was on a plane. On my way, I was moving down to Mexico City. I stay here for a couple months every year. And I was just like, and I was just like writing it. And this guy's looking at me as I'm just like typing away on my phone furiously for like an hour of the flight. What are you doing? And I'm like, I gotta use it. But like, if I try to write, like I can't write fast enough. It's weird.
I would have looked at him and been like, I'm writing a story about someone on the plane. Asking questions,
right? A nosy person on the plane.
Well, it has been so incredibly delightful to chat with both of you. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time today. I feel like I have a million more questions, but
me too.
This has been a really fun introduction into hearing a little bit about Seaberry and your creative process. I'm just really, really grateful.
Yeah. We're going to include all the notes about how to find Seaberry, learn more about them in our show notes. You can find out more about what we do at Week of the Website at www.weekofthewebsite.com. You can subscribe to this delightfulness anywhere you subscribe to your podcast, and you can also find us on YouTube. And we'll be back with more about the creative process in our next episode, if there is one, unless this is the last one of the season. Sorry, Rena. Who knows? We haven't programmed it yet.
Great time.
Thank you so much. This was so wonderful. I like truly have so many more questions.